Could the Seattle Seahawks really be facing a nightmare scenario that nobody thought was possible? Shocking developments are creating major concern around the team, with fans fearing that one unexpected problem could completely change the outlook for the season. Some believe this situation could force Seattle into difficult roster decisions or emergency moves, while others think the panic may be overblown and the team still has time to recover.
Either way, the sudden uncertainty has sparked intense debate across the National Football League, and all eyes are now on what happens next in Seattle.
The city of Seattle just got hit with a wave of news so explosive that the entire NFL is suddenly paying attention to the Pacific Northwest again. Lumen Field is buzzing, the front office is moving in silence, and the roster is shifting in ways nobody expected this early in the offseason.
What started as a quiet week has now turned into a storm involving a rookie defensive back nobody saw coming, a franchise legend speaking out about the most intense schedule in team history, and a brutal injury update that could completely reshape the Seahawks offense before the season even begins.
And trust me, this story keeps escalating the deeper you go.
Because while most of the league is sleeping on Seattle's newest draft pick, the coaching staff inside the VMAC facility believes they may have secretly uncovered one of the most valuable late-round steals in years. His name is Michael Dansby, and even though he was the final pick of the draft, the Seahawks are treating him like a future weapon instead of a camp body.
That alone should tell you everything. Most teams use the final selection in the draft as a throwaway lottery ticket, but not this organization. Not with Mike Macdonald building this defense brick by brick. The Seahawks front office didn't just draft Dansby to fill a number on the roster sheet. They targeted him because they believe his football instincts are years ahead of where a seventh-round rookie should be.
This kid's journey is wild. He wasn't some five-star superstar growing up. He came into football as a lightly recruited two-star athlete. Nobody was handing him opportunities. Nobody was projecting him as an NFL player. But what separated him from everyone else was his ability to adapt. He started on offense as a wide receiver, learned how route concepts work from the inside out, then completely transformed himself into a defensive back.
That switch changed everything. At San Jose State, he started turning heads with his awareness and anticipation. He posted 37 tackles and 7 pass breakups in his final season there, and coaches immediately noticed how naturally he understood receiver movements. Then came the transfer to Arizona, where the competition level skyrocketed. Most players struggle during that transition.
Dansby got even better.
Against top-tier offenses, he delivered 19 tackles and 10 critical pass breakups while showing flashes of elite ball-tracking ability. And now, Mike Macdonald sees that skill set and believes it fits perfectly into the evolving identity of this defense.
The scary part? People inside the organization are whispering that Dansby may already be the most natural nickel corner on the roster outside the starters.
That is a massive statement.
Seattle has been searching for consistency in the slot for years. They've had talent, they've had athletes, but they haven't had a player with this combination of instincts, patience, and offensive understanding. Because Dansby doesn't just react to routes, he predicts them. His wide receiver background gives him a unique advantage that most corners simply don't have.
He understands timing. He understands leverage.
He understands where quarterbacks want to attack before the ball is even snapped.
That's why the Seahawks made sure nobody else could grab him after the draft. They didn't wait for free agency. They used the final pick to lock him down immediately because they saw value nobody else recognized.
At 5'11" and 185 pounds, he's not physically overwhelming, but his speed is real. His recovery burst is legitimate, and his eyes in coverage are advanced for a rookie.
Sure, there are still weaknesses. Sometimes he gives too much cushion. Sometimes his transitions out of breaks get sloppy. But those are coachable issues. What you can't teach is anticipation. You can't teach football IQ. And you definitely can't teach the kind of underdog mentality this guy plays with.
Seattle loves players with chips on their shoulders. And Michael Dansby is carrying a mountain.
If he develops the way this staff believes he can, he won't just survive final roster cuts. He could become one of the most important rotational defenders on the team by mid-season. Imagine offenses trying to read McDonald's disguised nickel packages while Dansby floats underneath routes hunting interceptions.
That's the kind of chaos this defense wants to create. And while the rookies are battling for respect, the veterans are staring down one of the most demanding schedules in franchise history. The NFL officially dropped the 2026 schedule, and the reaction from inside Seattle was immediate. Nobody embodied that energy more than Leonard Williams. The veteran defensive star exploded online after the announcement, posting a viral hype video screaming, "Let's go," as fans across the league realized just how much primetime attention Seattle is getting this year.
6 primetime games. A franchise record. 5 of them at Lumen Field.
The NFL is basically telling the world that Seattle has become must-watch television again.
And honestly, they're right.
This team isn't being treated like a cute playoff story anymore. They're being treated like defending champions with a target on their backs. Every major network wants a piece of them. Every fan base wants to test themselves against them. Every contender wants to measure themselves against Seattle's defense.
The season opener alone feels cinematic.
Wednesday night, Super Bowl rematch. Patriots versus Seahawks, under the lights at Lumen Field. The entire football world watching the rematch of Seattle's dominant championship win from February.
That atmosphere is going to be unreal.
But it only gets tougher from there.
Road games against Arizona and Washington immediately follow before Seattle returns home for heavyweight clashes against the Chargers and 49ers. Then comes the brutal stretch that could define the entire season.
Denver on Thursday night in the thin mountain air.
Kansas City in a revenge-fueled primetime war. Chicago under the lights.
Philadelphia late in the year.
And a Christmas showdown against the Rams that already feels personal.
10 games against playoff teams from last season. That's not a schedule, that's survival mode.
But Leonard Williams seems to love it.
Because players like him feed off pressure. This is exactly the kind of stage elite defenders dream about. The noise at Lumen Field during those prime-time matchups could become legendary. Opposing offenses may genuinely struggle to communicate once the 12s get rolling.
And Williams knows it.
He's already calling on the city to make this the loudest season Seattle has ever produced.
The emotional centerpiece of the schedule might be the showdown against Kansas City, not just because it's a Super Bowl caliber matchup, but because Kenneth Walker III is coming back to Seattle wearing Chiefs colors after leaving in free agency and winning Super Bowl MVP. That game is going to carry serious emotion.
And Seattle's defense knows they'll need to be dominant all year long if they want any chance of surviving this gauntlet.
But just when it felt like this roster was fully loaded for another title run, devastating news dropped out of the running back room.
Zach Charbonnet's recovery timeline has become a serious concern.
The torn ACL he suffered during the divisional round still isn't healing at the pace fans hoped for, and according to multiple reports, the best-case scenario now has him returning sometime in December.
That means Seattle could be without one of its most physical offensive weapons for nearly the entire regular season.
That changes everything.
Because now the pressure shifts directly onto rookie running back Jadarian Price.
And make no mistake, this is no longer a developmental situation.
Seattle needs him immediately.
John Schneider gambled when he allowed Kenneth Walker to walk in free agency. The organization believed Charbonnet could shoulder the load while Price slowly developed into a long-term contributor. But now that plan has completely flipped upside down.
Price has to become the guy right now.
That's a massive responsibility for a rookie entering one of the toughest divisions in football.
The talent is there, nobody questions that. The speed jumps off the tape. The explosiveness is obvious. But the NFL doesn't care about college highlights. The real concern is whether Price can handle the responsibilities that don't show up on stat sheets.